FTX execs maxed out on donations.
I didn't even know that. That's
Good find,
Jamie.
Of course they did. Look at them.
Right there is like the perfect news story for our era.
Look at that American flag fucking pin on the lapel. I love it.
This is America's congressman right here.
What's his name?
America's
Have you seen the video where he's like, "Hi, my name is Anthony DeValder"?
Yeah, he changes his name.
Who the fuck are you?
He's a full-on con man.
Full-on con man.
There's so few people that want to be congressmen, and there's so few people that want to get involved that you could be a fucking loon. A fucking loon with all the right bullet points, and you can get all the way in.
Well, he told people what they wanted to hear.
Yes.
You know, to the donors, he was like, I'm a wealthy businessman. I'm highly successful. I worked at Goldman Sachs, all this stuff. They're like, oh, this is our kind of guy. To the electorate in the Republican, he pitched that he's like this trailblazing, you know, Americans, I am the American dream, like Latino, gay, all this stuff. I mean, it really was incredible the way that he told people what they wanted to hear. And so that's a part that I'm really interested and obsessed with, because all of these people are like a reflection of the holes and vulnerabilities in society. You know, same thing with Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX. He told people in Congress, he told the media, he had this very specific cultivated image of his like wacky hair and his like dressed down look and whatever, that he was the eccentric genius or whatever. And a lot of people who were supposed to be super smart in the business press and in the, you know, regular press and on Capitol Hill, they all bought it hook, line, and sinker.
After Bernie Madoff, you're not going to fool us again.
Oh, yeah, right.
We've got it all. We figured it out. We got it.
It's not like Theranos was like 5 years ago.
Right. Theranos was an abnormality, sir. It'll never happen again. People like that are rare, and they don't really get through.
It's actually a good thing, though, just to show people, like, these people aren't that smart. You know, when I first came to D.C., you know, you get to the White House, and you're like, holy shit, like, this is the White House. I remember, you know, it's like when I met Trump and interviewing him, and, like, in the Oval Office, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm in the Oval. That's JFK who's there, you know, like, this is where Nixon did this thing. But then, you know, like, some guy comes in with his shoes off, and you're like, oh, this is just an office. Like, it's just a normal building. And so you got to take that veneer off. Most people actually get this. I'm probably just weird, which is, like, these people aren't that smart. They are the billionaires, and they're actually fools. Like Sam Bankman-Fried raised $1 billion when he was literally playing Counter-Strike while he was on a Zoom call, and he was playing a video game. He said some bullshit and like something about a banana, and they gave him $1 billion. This is one of the top tier venture capital firms in the world.
Yes, I mean, these are supposed to be the most sophisticated investors, and just totally bamboozled by this guy. And it isn't. And then on the other end, you know, a lot of people who bought into what he was selling, or what, you know, NFTs that were being sold, or whatever random crypto like scams were out there, you know, they had their own vulnerabilities of maybe they were hurt in the financial crash. Maybe they feel like it was disproportionately young men, right? So maybe they feel like the American dream of like getting the house and having the family and the, you know, the like basic middle class prosperity wasn't really open to them. And they're being sold this sort of hero journey narrative about, you know, fortune favors the brave, and you got to get in early, and this is secret special knowledge that's going to allow you to achieve your goals of wealth creation that has been held out to you of like what is at the core of being a man. It's a very seductive story. It's a very seductive story. Why is it all connected
to the manscape? The manscape and crypto and NFTs.
Because it all is this whole.
You know, it's interesting. Some of the most viral content that we've done in like the last several months is just problems with men. Like we did this video. It's like the problems of boys and men with the author Richard Reeves. He was actually fantastic. He wrote a great book on this.
You'd have a great conversation with him, actually.
Viral. And he talks a lot. He's like, look, I understand. He's like, I'm not an anti-feminist. He's like, what we are talking about, though, is in the last 2 decades, we've had a crisis amongst young men. And something we talk about on the show is what Krystal's getting at with the decline of the American dream. Like the idea that you were going to do better than your parents, and that's just not really true anymore. Even if you went to school and you have a shit ton of student debt, even if you're working class in terms of wage growth, upward mobility, people who are graduating from high school who are men and working class, having much more trouble actually finding a mate. So there's a big college imbalance right now where a lot of men are dropping out of college. They no longer feel accepted, and you're reaching almost 60-40 splits of women and men in college, especially who who are graduating, a lot of women who have college degrees don't actually want to date somebody who doesn't have a college degree. And so there's this big imbalance in the dating market. And then also amongst single men, you see a big decline in lifetime wages. But what really makes me really sad is the drug overdose numbers, and they die much earlier. They're much less likely to exercise, much less likely to fulfill a more like a stronger life. And that's what gets to the charlatanism of like being able to buy into the charlatan, signing up for some MLN scheme that you might see online, buying crypto. By the way, you're looking at a crypto victim. I lost $5,000 on BlockFi, got fucked out by that.
There's a lot of men that feel by their very existence that they're bad.
Yeah. It's a big cultural problem.
This thought of toxic masculinity and the things that they're attracted to, they think they've been told are stupid, or that they're evil, or there's a thing about being a man in this world today that I think we have to look at all human beings as just human beings.
Yeah.
And you can't help that you were born a man, and you can't help the things that you enjoy. Like if you enjoy getting loud with your friends, this idea of toxic masculinity, it's like, yeah, there's toxic aspects of men, and that's real. That's a reality of being a male human being. If you look at the history of war, it's all started by men. Men did all of it. Men do all the raping. I had this guy on the podcast once. It was hilarious. He goes, actually, statistically speaking, men get raped more than women do. I go, yeah, by other men, you fucking idiot. I go, it's not packs of cheerleaders raping football players. The fuck is wrong with you? The problem is 100% men. That's the problem with manosphere, is that there's grifters in the manosphere that aren't actual real men.
Yes.
And by real men, I mean they don't have resolve. Like if you took them on a hike, they would get tired. They would sit down. You would have to leave them behind. They're not. The word tough is a word, but it's like oh, you're tough. No, mental toughness is fucking important. It's a really important quality of life, and it's been diminished to this thing that's like a part of toxic masculinity ideology. And
it again speaks to the fact there used to be a really clear sort of cultural narrative, right or wrong, about what it was to be a man. And at the core of that was being a provider, right? For women, It was like, it was other things, being like a mother and a nurturer and like the way you look. For men, it's like about the wallet, right?
Yeah.
The pocketbook. And then, so I think when we've had an assault on the middle class, on the working class, where it becomes so much harder to be able to fulfill that cultural narrative of what it is supposed to be a man. I think this is as a woman, but from my external perspective, I think that's been really, really devastating.